As we explore these neurobiological topics, it's fascinating to think that everything you're sharing here with us is stemming from information housed in your neural networks, and you're accessing this information through the power of your consciousness, reaching into different regions of your brain. Yeah, well, it's even more intriguing because I used to have so many brain malfunctions that I would regularly joke about needing a brain transplant. For a solid 10 years, I was like, okay, I just need to go on Amazon, find a brain that I can acquire, go to a brain surgeon and be like, hey, would you mind just swapping this out so that I can, function well and stuff? Who knew that all I needed to do was invest about 30,000 hours in rewiring hundreds of trillions of neural networks, and then I could feel like myself again. I'm here today with Kristin Windsor, who just completed a 4-year case study after many, many years of implicit health challenges that were ineffectively addressed by medical professionals across multiple states. Thank you so much for taking time to be here, Kristin Windsor. It is an honor to connect with you.
Thank you so much for having me. It is such a blessed opportunity, such a divine privilege to be here and get to share my work. So thank you so much for having me and creating this space for me.
What did you learn during your case studies, or what were some conclusions that they led to?
Yeah, so my research led to several new discoveries, and it was a combination of learning about neuroscience, studying my experiences, and slowly drawing some new connections. And so the conclusions I came to were not things I directly learned from other sources. They were new things that I kind of figured out by piecing together my experience in relation to what I was learning from neuroscience. So my 21st thesis statement or discovery throughout my case study ventures is that virtual reality presents infinite potentials for healing mental health battles, especially trauma recovery due to the dissociative properties of virtual reality. Along my healing journey and throughout my case study work, I explored potentials to use virtual reality for self-healing. Through that process, I developed many ideas, 3 of which I will share here. I would love to someday work with a team and help develop these ideas and bring these programs to life. My first virtual reality program idea is for any human being to help understand and heal their unconscious body-mind in a brand new way. It basically brings to life my liberated consciousness diagram, where there are 4 distinct subconscious sectors where neural wiring is organized in relation to attachment systems. There's all this memory data, meaning making associations and stuff, connected with attachment well-being, specific internal needs, and whether those have been met throughout the years. There's 4 different subconscious regions, each carrying specific styles of energies within neural wiring, or the storage of data throughout the brain-body system. Each sector Each subconscious sector, these 4 regions within the unconscious body-mind, create distinct styles of personal experiences for subconscious parts. For example, phobias might be experienced by guardian parts in the second subconscious sector, while depression might be experienced by Muppet parts in the first subconscious sector, and perfectionistic tendencies might be experienced by normal parts in the fourth subconscious sector. Different styles of implicit experiences are encountered by subconscious parts throughout these 4 subconscious sectors. My idea is to bring these 4 regions to life, where through a virtual reality program, you can directly interact with the styles of energies housed in neural wiring and the parts of consciousness who are directly experiencing them. And being able to navigate the unconscious body-mind through a virtual reality experience would be so powerful. Imagine being able to explore the energies stored throughout hundreds of trillions of neural networks, impacting personal experience beyond what you can directly know about. Being able to first-handedly and personally interact with unique parts of consciousness that you can't directly get to through conscious intentionality, and to explore the energies of those regions of neural data in a very alive way. Guardian parts in the second subconscious sector have a very different energetic vibration to their styles of personal experience from other parts in other subconscious sectors. And so my idea is to bring to life my liberated consciousness diagram, where these 4 subconscious regions are explored in a very intensely, awesomely tangible way, and neural wiring is understood in a fresh light, and parts of consciousness are able to be connected with. And from this space of understanding, people would have the opportunity to know how to heal their unconscious body minds, because they'd understand where elements of their personal experiences are coming from. My second virtual reality program idea is specifically to address disrupted attachment development during early childhood. And this could be anything from minor disruptions, like if you got lost at the store as a kid and now you sometimes feel panic when you go into that kind of a store. Or it could be more major cases of disrupted attachment development, such as unique order of neural wiring within the neurobiological social engagement system, which is presently described as structural dissociation, that may manifest as borderline personality disorder, complex post-traumatic stress disorder, dissociative identity disorder, otherwise specified dissociative disorders, etc. This can especially help heal underlying neurobiological core causalities of chronic dissociative age regression. Within this virtual reality program experience, you would have 2 distinct characters, and you'd be able to shift these avatars so that one of them looks just like your adult self, and this other avatar looks just like your childhood self. And so you have a child's body that you can tangibly recognize as the childhood you, and an adult's body that you can tangibly recognize as the adult you. So you have these 2 avatars. Now you have these 2 avatars, and these 2 avatars interact in all kinds of scenarios. And who you are within the game shifts between the 2. Sometimes you're the adult, sometimes you're the child. But this adult self and the child self are having all kinds of interactions. For example, you might be walking at a park holding hands. And then you're the adult holding the hand of your inner child in a way that you can see it and feel it. Imagine the power of that. And then other times you're the childhood self, and you're here and you're able to look up and see your adult self and feel that security and feel that protection and feel that love and hold their hand and create these new moments of attachment need fulfillment, allowing for repair within the foundation of the neurobiological social engagement system of parent-child bonding from both the perspective of the caregiver or the parent and the child, or basically the attachment well-being that lies at the very core of our unconscious body-mind, impacting the filing of memories and how we navigate our identity and our lives, and impacting the filing of protocols regarding integration and regulation throughout brain hemispheres and nervous systems and everything else. You might be swinging at the park, and sometimes you're the adult self pushing your inner child on the swing, and sometimes you're the inner child and you're on the swing being lovingly pushed by your adult self. And you get to have these new, tangible experiences of attachment repairment that completely transforms the body because your body is experiencing them. When you do attachment repair through things like self-hypnosis or something, there can be a lot of power in that, but you're still having to kind of manually go in and use your mind to covertly address the implicit neural wiring. But when the body can feel it because it's in a fully submersed experience like virtual reality, the power to transform attachment well-being is so deeply profound and infinitely powerful. There might be picnic play dates at parks or adventures to the zoo or an aquarium or creating art projects together. And throughout each of these types of experiences, the perspective shifts. You can choose to shift between being the inner child or the childhood self who is receiving love from the adult you, or you can be in the position of the adult self extending nurturing love to the childhood self. Because every year adds information into the foundations of the neurobiological social engagement system where our inner child resides, we actually each have inner child aspects from every year of life. We have aspects of our inner child from infancy, aspects of our inner child from toddlerhood, through every year of life, all the way through adolescence, where we have aspects of our inner child as a teenager. So we have all these different inner child aspects. So this virtual reality program concept would have options to create inner child avatars from different periods of neurodevelopment. And then you could create healing experiences with each aspect of the inner child. For example, there might be an option where you can scan or submit a picture of you from a certain age, and then the virtual reality program would create 3 to 5 potential avatars, and you could pick which one kind of closest fits that aspect of the inner child. And then with that avatar connecting with the adult self, you could have different types of healing experiences. For example, you might do different healing activities with your inner toddler than you would with your inner teenager. And so having the option to create different avatars for various inner child aspects allows for healing transformation within all of the foundations of the neurobiological social engagement system, which is how every human being is experiencing automatic navigation and regulation through every nanosecond of unfolding experiences, allowing the adult self to cultivate healing attachments with all inner child aspects ignites profound transformation from the inside out. This is a powerful way to create positive childhood experiences that may not have been accessible, or to amplify the storage and well-being of neurowiring at the foundation of the neurobiological social engagement system. And when these experiences are regularly repeated, attachment repair becomes profoundly possible. And so then attachment systems thrive, and then memory data has greater connectivity, and And then the brain-body system has more integration and regulation, and everything from automated interpretations of reality, from the sense of self to personal experience, all the way to brain-body regulation and how oxygen flows and heart rate variability and brainwave regulation, all these different features of our unconscious experience, everything starts to improve. Any human being can experience profound amplification of their quality of life through healing attachment systems. This would especially open healing potentials for individuals experiencing health challenges from adverse childhood experiences or early life traumatic stress, such as unique order of wiring within the neurobiological social engagement system. An additional idea is to have the player's childhood avatar interact with other people in different types of settings. You might be in a preschool classroom or playing at a playground, and having positive experiences with fictional avatars of other children and adults can actually help improve neural wiring. When these experiences are not available during early neurodevelopment or stages of early childhood, it can impact potentials for relationships, communications, and dream pursuits. This virtual reality program concept allows for the creation of new implicit memories. By engaging the body in a particular way and evoking emotional sensations, it actually stimulates new implicit emotional and procedural memories. And because it's focusing on thriving attachment well-being or fulfillment of attachment needs in this process, then this new neural data achieves full-blown connectivity. And then repeated processes of this gradually rewire past intel. This program also touches on early neurodevelopmental details that can really produce profound neurobiological healing for anyone who's experienced disrupted attachment development, especially because of adverse childhood experiences or early life traumatic stress. It focuses on parent-child bonding from both the perspective of the child and the parent or the caregiver, which touches into the foundational layers of the neurobiological social engagement system. It addresses implicit memories, which are at the core of how our brain-body system understands how to navigate identity and experience. It touches on the right brain hemisphere, which is the first brain hemisphere to develop during early childhood, by using tactile sensations, visual sensations, and a lot of just very right brain sensations within these experiences. It helps to heal the neural data that is behind a lot of implicit battles, such as unique order of wiring within the neurobiological social engagement system, or uniquorders, which are presently described as forms of structural dissociation. A lot of implicit battles stem from activity in the right brain hemisphere, including cases of chronic traumatic stress or complex post-traumatic stress disorder, for example. By rewiring the right brain hemisphere with an experience like this virtual reality program idea, there can be complete transformation of the underlying neurobiological core causalities of these health challenges. It also touches on the hindbrain, including cranial nerves and vestibular and proprioceptive engagement, and those also really contribute to everyday challenges, especially stemming from early life traumatic stress. For example, when you're dissociating, a lot of times the body has difficulties orienting itself in time and space. And so by rewiring the hindbrain through this concept of virtual reality, then the underlying neuroscientific causalities of health challenges can experience complete transformation. And of course, by focusing on attachment development, all elements of neurobiological structures experience profound amplification within their well-being. Any areas of neural wiring impacted by disrupted attachment development or early life traumatic stress could experience profound healing in a fun and enjoyable way. I believe that healing should feel good. Healing should not be focusing on the pain and figuring out how to mutate the pain so it's less painful, which is often the traditional route for recovering from trauma or similar implicit battles. But when we can produce healing sensations that feel good, it fuels the healing journey in so many ways, because then you want to show up for the healing. If healing focuses on addressing the pain, then the pain grows. But if healing focuses on
expanding experiences of loving presence, then loving presence grows. And you want to show up for the healing because the experience of the journey feels good. And then it not only produces effective healing transformation, but it's enjoyable along the way. You're not just trying to get to a destination of feeling better. Every step of the journey has its own fruit of blessings. And when the healing journey can look like that, it becomes more possible. Because if someone is battling health challenges stemming from severe and chronic early life traumas, healing might feel impossible because how on earth can you confront such a deep, dark, terrifying pain? How can you do that and come out on top? How can you go in and look at the depths of that darkness and somehow come out feeling like a whole person? And so when you look at the pain, healing will feel impossible. The impossibilities of the pain will overwhelm that individual to such a severe degree that there won't even be a desire to try to heal. And that should not be the trauma recovery that's offered to individuals. Individuals should be offered recovery routes that feel good and rewarding and hope-filled every single step of the way. And by using a virtual reality program that focuses on healing attachments by creating an inner child avatar and an adult self avatar that interact in healing experiences, everything can start to change in a very profound way. You're not just addressing the neurobiological core causalities of implicit challenges in a very creative and clever way, but you're having enjoyable experiences every step of the way. So then rewiring the brain and the body is something you want to do. And that alone is healing because it releases internal resistance. If you're like, oh my God, I have to go to trauma recovery. Oh my God, I'm going to trauma recovery and I'm going to this therapy and I don't want to go. That instant is rewiring the brain and the body so that there's more stress, which is exactly what you're trying to heal. So it doesn't make sense to have recovery routes that only amplify your stress. But if you're like, oh my God, I'm going to go play a virtual reality program and I'm going to hang out with my inner child and create brand new moments of healing memories that feel good. Trauma recovery should look and feel like that. Trauma recovery should look and feel like love. So that's one of my virtual reality program ideas. My third virtual reality program idea is a little more abstract and specifically is aimed to assist individuals struggling with chronic traumatic stress. The goal here is to rewire the neurobiological social engagement system to amplify the well-being of implicit memories and brain-body regulation. This is really fascinating. Virtual reality is a dissociative experience. When a fully lucid individual steps into a virtual reality program experience, they are experiencing a form of dissociation. Intriguing, right? So what happens when an individual living with chronic dissociation steps into a virtual reality program experience? Any guesses? The dissociation cancels itself out. It's a double negative and cancels itself out because there is already dissociation. An individual steps into a virtual reality program and suddenly everything feels real. Okay? When someone's living with chronic traumatic stress, the everyday joys of life are not accessible. You can't necessarily feel the breeze brushing past your skin. You can't necessarily feel the joy of the sunshine in the sky. You can't necessarily feel the joy of smelling or seeing a beautiful flower because sensory processing is blocked. It's almost like vibrational signals are barricaded from fully being translated into elements of personal experience, okay? There's almost this blockade where the brain and the body are like, nope, life is not safe. We're just not going to engage at all. And then you miss out on the joys of living because the brain and the body are trying to protect itself from potential threats. As one way of perceiving it. Okay, so you can kind of just imagine the brain and the body's like, nope, I'm done. I'm done absorbing vibrational signals. I'm done translating outside life into personal experience. It has not served me well in the past. I'm not doing it anymore. But it's all unconscious, okay? It's happening in the brain and the body, very beyond awareness. But it reduces the experience of enjoying being alive. Okay, if someone gets some bad news or something, they can redirect their energetic focus and be like, at least I have this hot cup of tea in my hands. At least I have my cat to pet. At least the sun is shining. And you can kind of redirect your energy and notice the everyday joys of living, and it brings balance to the contrast. When someone's living with chronic traumatic stress, that neurobiological opportunity for experience doesn't exist most of the time. If something stressful happens, everything is done. You're just done. Everything's done. You can't redirect yourself towards any element of joy because the neurobiological gifts of sanity in order to achieve that experience are not accessible within the unconscious body-mind. And so someone living with chronic traumatic stress might get stuck in traffic, let's say, and the panic ensues and it feels like their life is over because of how the brain and the body are producing automated messages of experience. You can't redirect your energy and be like, okay, I can just hang out and listen to music. Your brain and your body are in such a state of survival and traumatic activation that there can't be a state of enjoyment in the moment. Okay, so everyday joys of living are reduced or inaccessible when someone lives with chronic traumatic stress or chronic dissociation. So, what happens when someone living with chronic dissociation steps into a dissociative virtual reality experience? The dissociation cancels itself out and suddenly life feels real. There's orientation in time and space. Personal experience is no longer fragmented. The sense of self suddenly unifies into one singular moment of experience which is not accessible in the physical world. Suddenly everything starts to activate, click, and ignite. The person starts to feel like a person again. Suddenly you can feel things. Suddenly you feel like you are a being orienting into a surrounding area. Suddenly you start to see the brightness of colors and the depth of dimension that were not accessible in physicality. There's all these everyday joys of living that are not accessible with chronic dissociation, but they become accessible in virtual reality. Okay, so even just by virtue of stepping into the virtual reality experience, healing is already taking place because the person starts to feel like a person again. Okay. Another cool thing about this is when there's some form of dissociation where you don't feel connected with the sense of being that you are. You might not recognize yourself in the mirror. You might not feel like this is your arm, etc. Having an avatar where you can energetically connect with a sense of self in that way can feel very relieving to anxiety produced in the unconscious body-mind. And that alone can also produce healing just by creating that avatar and interacting with that avatar and feeling like you are a sense of self. Even if you can't yet connect with a sense of self, you are physically being able to connect with a sense of self that resonates with you and is very tangible because it's a virtual reality experience can be healing, and it can be a stepping stone to reassociating with the physical being that you are. Because a lot of times it doesn't feel safe to be connected with being a person. Okay? It doesn't feel safe to be even connected with being a person because when you were that person, bad things happened, long story short. So the body-mind is like, you know what? It's kind of just safer to not be a human being. But then that produces all kinds of health challenges and reduction in the quality of living. But when you can reassociate yourself with an avatar that feels safe to connect with, then you can gradually start to reassociate with being a person and eventually gradually work your way towards associating with the physical body that you actually are. So these are just the prefaces. The real meat of this virtual reality program idea is the gradual process of creating new implicit memories in relation to attachment well-being that subsequently affect brain-body regulation, integration, and activation. Because the unconscious body-mind is physically, tangibly, and emotionally, sensationally engaging in a form of conceptualized reality. The core structures of neural wiring, implicit, emotional, and procedural memories can experience complete, radical, profound transformation through specific styles of VR experiences. When the aim is to have VR experiences that amplify attachment well-being, specifically helping the person feel seen and loved and appreciated and celebrated and treasured for who they are. Virtual reality program experiences that specifically help individuals feel safe, secure, protected, and provided for within those moments. Virtual reality program experiences that specifically help individuals feel supported, connected, and a sense of vulnerable closeness and collaborative community. And the cool part about that is you can feel it within yourself because you'll be interacting with fictional avatars. So even though it feels like you're engaging with these other people and these elements of social engagement, you'll be socially engaging with yourself. And there's something very, very profound about that because you're learning how to reassociate with who you are within a social setting, basically. And virtual reality program experiences that specifically help individuals feel respected, recognized, embraced, and directly guided, like there's opportunistic space for them to be who they are. So really just space to be themselves. A super cool element about this is it provides personal power for individuals who have experienced profound powerlessness. And this is really important. If someone's in a trauma therapy, for example, they do not have complete power because they're still engaging with another human being. If they suddenly don't feel safe, they can't just be like, oh, bye, and leave the room. That might jeopardize the relationship they have with their therapist, and they might not be able to continue treatment if that keeps happening. Being able to be in your own personalized setting of healing in a virtual reality program allows individuals to have complete power. And for people who have experienced profound sensations of powerlessness, this is a very important element of healing. People recovering from trauma need to feel like they have power inside of themselves to exert within their situations. So if you're in a virtual reality program experience and suddenly something is too much, or it's too overwhelming, or it's amazing and you want to step out and step back into it, you can do it. You just take off the headset, you look around, you grab a drink of water, you put the headset back on. Even just that element of having that power and that choice can be healing to the unconscious body-mind. Just being able to choose how and when you go about these healing endeavors produces a lot of power. But then having the resources there when you need it is also a form of power. Because again, if you're seeing a trauma therapist and you're seeing them once a week, but you need them right now and your appointment's not for 3 days, what do you do in the interim? And so virtual reality is amazing because the power is always there. You have this program at home, and at any day, anytime you need it, that you have time to use, of course. You might not be taking the VR with you to work or something, but you have the ability to do it in your own time, in your own way, at your own pace. You could do 5 minutes here, 5 minutes there, 2 hours here, 2 hours there. You have the power to choose. And just having that power and that opportunity alone can help produce sensations of healing. So there's a lot of different elements to this experience, not even just the virtual reality program itself, but even the elements surrounding it can help bring so much healing empowerment to individuals who really, really desire and deserve to experience that. The styles of these virtual reality experiences would specifically help address attachment needs in a very playful, creative way, and in a way that really addresses the right brain hemisphere and the hindbrain. So tactile and visual sensations, emotional sensations, feelings of experience, and then proprioceptive and vestibular abilities and other things that connect with the hindbrain, like brain-body balance and things. And so when you're in a virtual reality experience and you're orienting yourself in time and space and you turn around, or you're climbing up a ladder and you can feel your body physically moving upwards even though you're not, because you're in this VR program, those sensations that are produced unconsciously actually have the power to rewire underlying neurobiological core causalities of chronic dissociation and traumatic stress, because it's specifically addressing the neuroscience of what's producing those experiences. Chronic traumatic stress comes from the right brain being like, boom, floods of sensations, while the left brain is not able to interpret these realities because there's not neural connectivity through the corpus callosum. And boom, dysfunction of cranial nerves and hindbrain disorganization because of a lack of neural connectivity. And so by manually producing these sensations where the right brain and the hindbrain are specifically engaged but in a healing fashion that can be enjoyably experienced and chronically embraced, where you keep coming back to these same styles of experience, it can really produce healing because it's actually rewiring that neural data. Every moment, every nanosecond of experience rewires our brains and our bodies. That's already happening. That's already occurring. Every single nanosecond is already transforming our unconscious body-mind. So when we chronically engage in a virtual reality program that addresses the brain regions affected by traumatic stress, then it's rewiring the underlying neuroscientific causalities of implicit health challenges, even without directly addressing the original traumas. That's very important, because every time you address the original traumas, they are being activated and the neural data is growing. And this is really important to understand. I once met a trauma therapist who very boldly declared to a room of individuals suffering from PTSD that trauma cannot be healed, that there is no hope for recovery. And everyone felt so devastated and so angry. And I was like, wait a second. This can't be right. But it's because he was using a therapy that addressed the trauma in a way that chronically activated it and grew that neural data so that traumatic stress continued to grow rather than achieving healing resolution. There's this very specific way to activate traumatic stress related memories to rewire them. Very specific way. And if you activate them and you don't go the route where they can achieve healing, then the data carrying the underlying cause of traumatic stress grows and the health challenges get bigger. And so even without knowing a way to directly address the underlying traumas to effectively transmute their energies, healing may indirectly take place by creating new implicit memories in relation to attachment need fulfillment, because that is the data that is causing the traumatic stress. And so a more effective way to heal, rather than addressing the trauma memories that are already there, is to create new implicit memories that can gradually override those. And this is, of course, just one potential route of healing. If you cannot be certain to approach a healing that effectively transmutes the underlying traumas, then don't go to the traumas, because you might risk making that data bigger inside of the body. If you can't be certain to have an opportunity to effectively transform that, then just focus on creating new implicit memories in relation to attachment need fulfillment. And then that can gradually improve brain-body regulation, neural connectivity, and all kinds of stuff that can gradually decrease the traumatic stress.
So this third virtual reality program idea is really just to specifically focus on healing the neurobiological social engagement system. So these different roles within it can achieve neural connectivity and heal the brain hemispheres, heal the nervous systems. And the powerful part about this is how virtual reality allows for the brain and the body to experience itself and life in a way that is canceling out all the effects of dissociation and traumatic stress. So that even for a few moments, there can be enough relief that can revive life and hope in individuals that may not feel access to that currently. Tapping into this unique experience where virtual reality really hones in on these portions of the brain and the body that are simultaneously being disrupted and overactivated during experiences of traumatic stress or dissociation can really, really powerfully provide healing potentials. During my self-healing journey, I explored lots of virtual reality experiences and found them very profoundly soothing. I could not experience orientation in physical reality, but I could experience orientation in virtual reality. I couldn't experience accurate visual processing in physical reality, but I could in virtual reality. I couldn't feel certain sensations through my skin and bodily orientation in physical reality, but I could in virtual reality. There's all of these amazing, unique physical experiences that were made possible in virtual reality that my neurobiology couldn't get to because of how severe the traumatic stress and dissociation were. Without a solidified sense of self, being able to have some alternate sense of self within a virtual reality program actually helped to reduce the anxiety caused by that dissociation and provided profound relief and healing potentials and all kinds of really miraculous experiences that were otherwise inaccessible. I believe that virtual reality holds profound potential to sculpt new ways to empower trauma recovery, specifically because of how virtual reality completely connects with dissociation. When any person uses virtual reality, they are in a dissociative experience. So what happens when someone who's experiencing chronic dissociation goes into a dissociative virtual reality experience? It almost double taps, relieving that dissociation and allowing for a physical, real experience. My 21st thesis statement is that virtual reality poses so many infinite and ever-expanding potentials to understand and heal unconscious body minds in brand new ways. We are on the leading edge where humankind is taking thought to spaces that thought has never before expanded. We are the infinite expansion of the miraculous universe. When my research began several years ago, virtual reality was just in the early stages of exploring potentials for this. And now there's so much more happening, and I believe it will continue to evolve and expand to a point where we can thoroughly and profoundly understand all elements of subconscious activity or energetic flows through hundreds of trillions of neural networks sculpted through every nanosecond of life experience that are contributing to our sense of identity and automated interpretations of reality to create personal experiences. I believe all of this will be known and understood and explored through virtual reality in the coming years. As humankind gains this profound and revolutionary opportunity to understand themselves and one another from the inside out in new ways through tangible virtual reality experiences, there will then be so many more wonder-filled opportunities to ignite healing transformation from the inside out. From everyday struggles in marital relationships or in the workplace,
to experiencing the most severe of neurological or trauma-related health challenges, I believe virtual reality holds so many miraculous potentials to ignite a profound and revolutionary new time in human history so we can understand, heal, and transform our lives from the inside out. Imagine millions or billions of people being able to have direct insight about the 99.08% of their inner beings that are existing and operating beyond awareness. Imagine the change that could ignite across the globe by having a fun, tangible, easy way to understand and heal subconscious activity. For example, another fun exploration of healing potentials is transforming self-hypnosis sessions into virtual reality programs. Instead of laying down and closing your eyes and going into this space of inner experience, that style of healing experience could be a virtual reality experience. And the style of it would be in a way that connects with subconscious activity or unconscious activity throughout the unconscious body-mind and cultivates the same style of inner healing and inner transformation that self-hypnosis sessions would have. But your eyes are open and you're experiencing this very tangible reality. Instead of kind of going in, having the inner focus and using your imagination, your body actually gets to have a real experience. And self-hypnosis sessions designed to reduce anxiety or liberate your inner child or whatever it might be could be virtual reality programs so that any individual along any healing journey through life could ignite profound transformation basically by playing a video game. It would be so incredible and profound for humankind to expand and evolve in these ever miraculous ways. I am so grateful to be alive during such a transcendent space of evolutionary expansion, and I'm really excited to see where virtual reality goes in the coming years. And I would love to be able to contribute to that cause. My 20-second thesis statement or discovery along my case study explorations is that subconscious realms may be described through 3 distinct layers, each one housing specific styles of neural data, creating unique experiences for distinct regions of self-essence or parts of consciousness or subconscious parts. You got the conscious awareness, and then you step down into the first subconscious layer, and this houses our everyday adult self. Then you take another step down into the subconscious. This houses our supporters or protectors of self-sense, or the aspects of our neurobiological applications of consciousness that protect and support who we are. And then you take another step down, so it's pretty far from our conscious awareness. It's kind of, it's a few steps down there. The third subconscious layer houses our inner child. And while our conscious self-sense comes from our first and second layers, our unconscious self-sense comes from our second and third layers. You can explore more about these concepts in my book, Liberated Consciousness. I dive into great expansive detail about this topic, describing these concepts through brand new diagrams, including my Liberated Consciousness diagram. Understanding subconscious activity in relation to these 3 layers provides profound understanding and healing potentials along any journey through life. At the core of who we are, we have our everyday adult self and our inner child. And then there are a bunch of parts of us who are protecting and supporting these aspects of ourselves. An infinite number of subconscious parts exist and operate throughout these 3 subconscious layers.
So while the unconscious body-mind in relation to subconscious activity may be explored through these three distinct layers, each layer houses an infinite number of subconscious parts. There may be billions or even trillions of parts of consciousness experiencing life, existing and operating throughout each of these subconscious layers. While subconscious realms may be explored through these three distinct layers, especially in relation to proximity with the conscious mind and the unconscious body, an infinite myriad of parts of consciousness or subconscious aspects of self-essence may be experiencing the particulars of self and life throughout these three subconscious layers. One of infinite occurrences that may arise is if there's pain being experienced by the inner child, but the everyday adult self needs to keep functioning, then these parts protecting and supporting our being might encourage independence of these regions so that the adult self can keep functioning without having to connect with the pain being experienced by the inner child. Although this may create a sense of internal division where these regions operate autonomously of one another, it does provide coping to continue moving through life. Understanding these subconscious realities profoundly validates experiences while expanding potentials to transform them. An important aspect about this thesis is that these three subconscious layers each contain distinct regions of neurobiological activity, including different regions of subconscious neural data and different styles of unconscious brain-body activity operations and regulation. So remember that neural wiring unconsciously impacts navigation within identity and experience and brain-body regulation. So this means that we have three subconscious layers, and each one could experience distinctly unique styles of understanding who the self is, how the self relates with reality, how the self relating with reality processes and interprets elements of personal experience, and how this interpretation of reality stimulates neurobiological activity, including hormones and neurotransmitter activation and regulation throughout all the different nervous systems, central, somatic, endocrine, autonomic, how the prefrontal cortex engages, etc., etc., etc. Muscular engagement, so many different aspects, facial features, bodily postures, vocal vibrations, all the different elements of unconscious brain-body activity could experience their own unique style of engagement within these subconscious layers. It's kind of fun to play with this idea and keep these hidden subconscious realities in mind while we navigate through our unfolding moments of life, and we create space to acknowledge every part of our consciousness, even the trillions of self aspects existing and operating beyond our direct perception and immediate awareness. This idea also expands insights about unique orders, or unique order of neural wiring within the neurobiological social engagement system, which is presently described as structural dissociation. In unique orders, these three subconscious layers might exist and operate completely independently of one another. Parts of consciousness might experience completely independent inner realities and translations of outer realities based on how they're experiencing these three subconscious sectors. Parts of self-essence in the first subconscious layer experiencing the everyday adult self, or the conscious self-sense or conscious roots of who we personally are within our sense of identity, might have a completely different interpretation of the identity and reality and different styles of brain-body activity than parts of consciousness in the second subconscious layer, who are in charge of protecting and supporting the sense of self. So they kind of play this middle ground where they're here to support and protect the adult self and the inner child. And then different aspects in the second subconscious sector might experience their own styles of understanding who the self is and how the self engages with reality, and how the reality within interacts with the reality without, how the brain-body system operates and responds to aspects of experience. And then Other parts of consciousness might be in the third subconscious layer where the inner child lives, and those self aspects might be experiencing completely distinct, independent styles of neural projections that explain who the self is, how the self engages with reality, and automated occurrences of brain-body regulation. And when these three subconscious layers exist and operate independently of one another, then there could be these parts of consciousness all having their own unique experiences. And within adaptable consciousness condition, for example, these three subconscious layers might house completely independent persons, each one being their own independent person, or there may be a dozen independent persons within each subconscious sector, a dozen independently engaged states of consciousness within the inner child, a dozen independently engaged states of consciousness within the aspects of supporters and protectors of self-sense, a dozen independently engaged states of consciousness within the adult self, or the parts of consciousness who are engaging primarily with external reality. And so there's all these different aspects of self flowing through all these different regions of neurobiological applications of consciousness. And all this activity can be described in these three subconscious sectors. And when these three layers engage independently of one another, then the inner child has their own experience, the adult self has their own experience, and then there's these protector parts or supporters of self-sense who are also having their own experience. And then parts of consciousness might experience themselves independently. Even when there are fluid flows and consciousness experiences neurobiological engagement through one fluid state of operation, there's still distinct styles of personal experience in these three subconscious sectors. So even though these three layers can talk to each other, when neurobiological data is all able to achieve communicative connectivity through unconscious operations due to thriving attachment systems past and present, there's still parts of consciousness who are experiencing the internal reality of the inner child, and there's still parts of consciousness who are experiencing this middle ground where they're in both inner and outer realities, bringing this harmonious balance to everything. And there's still parts of consciousness experiencing external reality, primarily as the adult self. So there's still these three subconscious layers with distinct independent styles of activity. Dependent on integrative connectivity within the neurobiological social engagement system, these parts of consciousness just might be able to communicate fluidly with one another, or they might require manual communication to bridge worlds and have internal linkage and communicative connectivity. This thesis statement has a bonus feature. I discovered through my self-healing and case study ventures that you can actually visually, tangibly, personally connect with these three subconscious layers through a very distinct style of mirror meditation. Okay, we are about to play so hard. Are you guys ready for this? So we have two mirrors, okay? There's one mirror here, and there's one mirror here, all right? So one mirror is in front of me, one mirror is behind me, okay? And the mirrors are connecting with each other. They can see into one another the way that they're angled, okay? So that's the first step. Now we've got two mirrors, one in front of us, one behind us, okay? You with me? So when we look in this first mirror, you are seeing yourself. This represents your first subconscious layer, where your life partner lives, the everyday adult self who navigates external reality. Now let's explore our second subconscious layer. When you look into the first mirror, looking at the mirror behind you, you notice there's someone standing there, and they have their back to you, and they are looking into the other mirror, okay? So their back is to you, and their eyes are looking into that other mirror, okay? This represents your second subconscious layer where your best friend lives, and they always have your back. Their back is to the everyday adult self in the first mirror, in the first subconscious layer. And so the second subconscious layer is the best friend who always has the back of the life partner. This is another example with larger mirrors. Right here is my first subconscious layer where my life partner lives. Right here is my second subconscious layer where my best friend lives. The best friend always has my back and is always looking out for my little one.
Now we go even deeper into our subconscious. When you look fully from this first mirror into that back mirror, you'll notice an even smaller person who is looking at you. This represents the third subconscious layer, or the inner child.
This is another example using larger mirrors. This one right here is the third subconscious layer where my inner child lives. Doodle-doodle-doo.
So the best friend in the second subconscious layer not only has the back of the life partner in the first subconscious layer, but they are always looking out for the inner child in the third subconscious layer.
So this middle version of me here is the second subconscious layer. The best friend always has the back of the life partner in the first subconscious layer and is always looking out for the inner child in the third subconscious layer.
You're looking directly into the first mirror. You see your first subconscious layer, the representation of parts of consciousness experiencing life in the first subconscious layer. And this is closest to the conscious awareness. These are the parts that you know about directly. You go deeper into your subconscious layers, and as you look in the first mirror, at the second mirror, you notice that there's someone behind you, and their back is to you, and they are looking away into another aspect of self. This represents the second subconscious layer where the best friend lives. You go even deeper, and then you can see a third subconscious layer. When you look into this mirror at the mirror behind you, there is an even smaller self aspect, and that represents the parts that are much farther from the conscious awareness, still impacting life, but more within the unconscious body-mind than within the conscious mind. This represents the third subconscious layer where the inner child lives. The best friend has the back of the adult self and is always looking out for the little one within.
Here's a diagrammatic expression of this concept with the conscious awareness closest to the first subconscious layer and the unconscious body closest to the third subconscious layer. While our conscious awareness has direct access to our everyday adult self focused on external thrival, our inner child is farthest from our conscious awareness. Beyond direct perception, the inner child is focused on internal realities and thrival and directly experiences elements of the unconscious body beyond what is immediately accessible through the conscious self.
Here's another visual representation of it. The first subconscious layer, the second subconscious layer, and the third subconscious layer. The everyday adult self, the best friend, and the inner child. These parts of consciousness are focused on the outer world. These parts of consciousness are focused on the inner world. These parts of consciousness are focused on helping bring balance and support to inner and outer realms, always having the back of the life partner or the everyday adult self, and always looking out for the little one or the inner child within.
First subconscious layer, second subconscious layer, third subconscious layer.
This style of mirror meditation brings powerful healing results. The observational self who is witnessing this experience is distinct from the experiential self
who can be seen through these three subconscious layers. As the internal observational self connects with the experiential self by recognizing and respecting the life partner in the first subconscious layer, supporting and providing for the best friend in the second subconscious layer, and loving and celebrating the inner child in the third subconscious layer, profound healing ignites from within. You can create new implicit memories with emotions and procedures related to attachment need fulfillment. You can heal the neurobiological social engagement system by addressing brain-body needs in a profoundly loving and creative way with conscious presence. And you can rally all aspects of consciousness in a revolutionary capacity that bridges worlds between the conscious mind and the unconscious body-mind. Connecting with elements of self in this way brings many healing potentials where they otherwise did not exist. A powerful aspect about this is how I discovered it. I used to experience life through alternate states of consciousness. These states of personhood here were actually independent people. I would look in a mirror and the person here, and the person here were not the same people. And so this mirror meditation actually helped amplify neural connectivity so that parts of consciousness experiencing life through the neurobiological social engagement system through brain-body wiring had more opportunities to connect, communicate, and collaborate so that every part of consciousness had a chance to be seen and heard and have their needs and desires fulfilled in a way that enabled harmony throughout all aspects of self. Another element of how this brings healing has to do with my personal dimensions theory. And you can explore more about that later on. But long story short, different visual points connect with different elements of neural wiring. And so when we're using visual connectivity to link worlds between these different aspects of self, reaching different corners of visual stimulus, we're actually growing new neural connections to amplify unconscious associations with the self. And this can help heal any form of neural disconnectivity that may be producing unique experiences such as dissociation. Regardless of the type of healing journey an individual is on, this can bring healing because you're linking all elements of self, bridging worlds throughout regions of consciousness, and amplifying neurobiological well-being. Using this mirror meditation to fulfill attachment needs is especially powerful. Meeting internal needs for the first attachment system here for the inner child, meeting internal needs for the second and third attachment systems here for the best friend, and meeting internal needs for the fourth attachment system here for the life partner can produce profound inner healing. And you can explore more about these concepts in my Liberated Consciousness diagram, which I explore in my book, Liberated Consciousness. Applying this unique style of mirror meditation where you're directly looking into three subconscious layers, you can actually gradually expand neural connectivity because these three subconscious layers each connect with different regions of neural wiring. And this mirror meditation specifically connects with these three subconscious sectors. When you apply this mirror meditation and you shift your visual gaze to these three self aspects you can see in this mirror, as you have one mirror in front of you and one mirror behind you, and you shift your visual gaze to consistently look at these different self aspects of you, especially, and this part's important, especially connecting with the inner experiencer. Like you're not just looking at your body from different angles. That's really important. You're not just kind of casually glancing at your body from different angles. But if you specifically look and say, okay, this is my life partner. This is my adult self who operates in the external world. And this is my best friend who always has my back, always has the back of the me who's operating in the external world as the adult self, and always looking out for my inner child. And then this is my inner child who experiences my inner realms beyond my awareness. We got this inner and outer realities and then the bridge between those. When you look and you focus on connecting with your inner experiencer, or the consciousness within you who is experiencing these different self aspects or different aspects of your personal identity, both within and beyond awareness. And you shift your visual eye gaze to these different self aspects with the intention
of consciously connecting with these elements of your consciousness, then you can actually gradually expand neural connectivity throughout these subconscious regions. And this has profound, infinite healing journey benefits, expansive potentials for internal transformation. It's important to note, though, that this is a very gradual process. If you just do it for 5 minutes here and there, you're not going to see any results. If, however, you apply this as a daily practice for 30 minutes to 2 hours every day, or even 2 to 3 times a day, like in the morning and at night, or once during the afternoon or something, and you continue doing this daily ritual every single day for many, many months, you will experience profound transformation. Different elements of your consciousness will have increased communicative connectivity within the unconscious neurobiological flows of neural data and brain-body operations. So within the subconscious body-mind and the unconscious body-mind. So within the subconscious mind and the unconscious body. And over time, everything will start to change from the inside out in a very profound way as the observational self connects with the experiential self, fulfilling attachment needs for these 3 subconscious layers, and in the process kind of bridging worlds of all that neural data. And this especially has profound healing journey benefits for anyone experiencing a unique order or a unique order of neural wiring within the neurobiological social engagement system stemming from adverse childhood experiences or early life traumatic stress. A lot of times, self aspects in these 3 subconscious regions won't have communicative connectivity. They might even be completely independent states of consciousness or autonomous inner persons. And through this style of mirror meditation, you can help bridge these worlds of self-aspect and link the regions of neural wire that they're connected with so that parts of consciousness have more opportunities to experience healing journey homecomings. My 22nd thesis statement is that subconscious realms, or the unconscious body-mind, may be explored through 3 distinct layers. The first layer is closest with our conscious awareness and houses the roots of our conscious self-sense, or our everyday adult self. The second layer is still reachable from the conscious awareness, but a little bit farther away from it, and that houses the supporters and protectors of our self-sense, or our individualized sense of identity. And the third subconscious layer is farthest from the conscious awareness and closest with the unconscious body, and that layer houses our inner child, or the roots of our unconscious self-sense. And you can explore these ideas in great dynamic detail in my book, Liberated Consciousness. I go into profound, detailed depth about the neural structures creating content and connectivity within and throughout these layers, and how that impacts personal experiences for specific types of subconscious parts.